It started as friendship, but ended in a kiss I can't forget. I never thought a single kiss could change everything. But when I think back to that night, the way his eyes met mine, the way the world went quiet around us, I still feel the echo of it deep inside. That kiss wasn't planned. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. And it all started with friendship. When I met Liam Brooks, I was a sophomore at New York University, chasing deadlines, coffee, and the illusion of having my life together. He was in my Literature of Modern Love class, tall, effortlessly charming, with a messy head of dark hair and eyes that smiled even before his lips did. We sat 2 rows apart for half the semester before we ever spoke. It was a random Tuesday when I realized I'd forgotten my notebook, and the professor was moving too fast for me to keep up. Liam leaned over and whispered, "Want me to send you my notes later?" I looked at him, half relieved, half suspicious. "You actually take notes?" He grinned. "Only when I'm sitting near someone cute." I rolled my eyes, but I smiled anyway. That was how it began, with teasing, coffee-fueled study sessions, and late-night text messages that stretched way past midnight. He became my comfort zone before I even realized it. We talked about everything: music, fears, childhood memories. He told me how he played guitar to clear his head, and I told him about my secret dream of becoming a writer even though I was too scared to try. He was the kind of person who made you feel like your dreams weren't ridiculous. Our friendship was easy, until it wasn't. It started to change slowly, quietly. Like the first hint of warmth before spring. I'd notice how his hand brushed mine when he passed me a book, or how his gaze lingered a second too long when I laughed. One night, we were studying in the student lounge, sitting across from each other, surrounded by empty coffee cups. It was almost 1 a.m. The lights were dim, the building nearly silent. He looked exhausted, head tilted back against the couch, and I remember saying softly, "You should sleep." He looked at me, half smiling. "You sound like you care." "I do," I said without thinking. For a second, he didn't move, just stared at me, his expression unreadable. Then he looked away, like he was trying to hide something. We didn't talk about it, but from that night, something between us shifted. The next few weeks were a blur of mixed signals, accidental touches, long silences, and moments that almost became something more. He started walking me to class. I started missing him when he wasn't around. And every time his name lit up my phone, my heart reacted before my mind could catch up. Then came the night everything changed. It was late November, cold enough to see your breath in the air. The campus was quiet because of Thanksgiving break, and I was one of the few who hadn't gone home. I'd been writing in the library when Liam texted, "You still awake?" "Barely," I replied. "Come outside. I have something to show you." Curiosity won. I wrapped myself in a coat and stepped outside. He was waiting near the fountain, holding 2 cups of hot chocolate. The air smelled like winter, cold, sharp, and alive. "I figured you'd still be up writing," he said, handing me a cup. "You never sleep." "Neither do you," I teased. He smiled faintly. "I couldn't. Not tonight." We walked aimlessly through the empty campus, talking about nothing and everything. The city lights shimmered beyond the gate, and the sound of distant traffic mixed with our laughter. It felt like we were the only 2 people left in the world. When we stopped under the old clock tower, he suddenly turned quiet. "You ever think about how fast everything changes?" he asked. "All the time," I said. "Sometimes it feels like I blink and everything's different." He nodded, staring at the ground. "That's how I feel when I'm around you." I froze. "What do you mean?" He looked up then, really looked at me, and there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. I told myself we were just friends. That's what I needed it to be. But lately, he paused, searching for words. "Lately, I can't stop thinking about you." My breath caught in my throat. I didn't know what to say. All the late-night texts, the way he smiled at me, the small things I'd tried not to notice, it all suddenly made sense. Liam, I began, but he stepped closer, slowly, like he was giving me time to stop him. I don't want to mess this up, he whispered. But I had to tell you. The wind rustled the trees around us, carrying the faint sound of sirens from the city. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I don't want you to stop, I said softly. He smiled then, small, disbelieving, and before I could say anything else, he kissed me. It was slow at first, hesitant, careful, like he was afraid the moment would break if he moved too fast. But then it deepened, and all the tension, all the longing we'd buried for months, spilled out in that one kiss. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. Tell me this isn't just me, he murmured. It's not, I whispered. It never was. He laughed quietly, like the sound of relief. Then I'm in trouble. We both were. Because the next morning, reality came back, classes, friends, everything we'd been before that night. We tried to act normal, but it was impossible. Every glance carried a memory. Every touch burned a little too long. Still, we didn't rush it. We didn't jump into labels or promises. We just let it be, slow, gentle, real. One evening, a few weeks later, we met at a quiet cafe off campus. The window fogged from the cold, and he reached across the table to take my hand. You know what's funny? He said. Everyone keeps asking what's going on between us. And what do you tell them? He smiled. That we're just two people trying not to ruin something good. I laughed softly. And how's that going? Terribly, he said. Because I already fell. My heart melted at that. He wasn't the type to say things he didn't mean. After that, we stopped pretending. We walked to class hand in hand. We stayed up late watching old movies on his laptop, talking about life and love and everything in between. It wasn't perfect, it was honest. And that was enough. Then came graduation. The last day of college always feels like the end of something you didn't realize you'd started. We stood on the rooftop of his apartment, overlooking the city. The sun was setting, gold spilling over the skyline. He handed me a folded note. Read it after you leave, he said. I tried not to cry. You make it sound like goodbye. It's not, he said softly. It's just a new chapter. He kissed me one last time before I left, a kiss that felt like every emotion we'd shared was wrapped into a single heartbeat. Later, when I opened the note, it simply said, You were never just a friend. You were the reason everything made sense. That was years ago. Today, when people ask how Liam and I met, I always smile. I tell them we started as friends, because it's true. But what I don't tell them is that every great love story starts that way. Because sometimes, friendship is just love waiting for the right moment. And sometimes, that moment comes in the form of a kiss you can never forget.